All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Dennis with Synaptic Advisory Partners. And today we're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about a use case that we as a company have been coming across more and more as of late. And so we figured it would be really important to kind of make a video to show you some of the different ways that an organization could use the Salesforce.com platform, our application Youreka, as well as a couple other Salesforce features, like in this case Salesforce Maps, to do some retail execution and merchandising related business processes right on the platform. So that's what we're going to go through an example of today. So in this case, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to pretend as though I'm an account manager or an account executive that works for a coffee company. And this coffee company has products that are located at a variety of different grocery stores and other retail locations. And my responsibilities as an account manager include planning a route to my different locations that I'm responsible for going to visit, and doing a variety of different retail and merchandising activities like completing store audits, doing surveys, visiting with store managers, talking about promotional opportunities, generating additional sales. And so it's a big job to do that, and it's tough sometimes to be able to manage all your different accounts and go out and conduct these store visits in an efficient manner. So we're going to show you how we can do that on the platform. So here's what the demo flow looks like. We're going to start inside of Salesforce, and we're going to utilize Salesforce Maps to plan a route to the different accounts that I'm responsible for visiting today. We're going to navigate to those locations, and then when we get there, we're going to use the Youreka mobile app to basically collect some information about the location that we're visiting, to collect information about inventory, product placement, things like marketing assets. We can do it on or offline. We're going to be guided through the entire sales process, through the entire store visit. And then when we're done, we can save all that data very easily from our mobile device back to the Salesforce environment. And then what we'll do is we'll actually jump back into Salesforce, and we'll see how all the different reports and dashboards and automation have been updated as a result of this person going out and doing that store visit. So let's go ahead and move over into an example Salesforce org. So what you see right now is just a sample environment that I've put together. And in this case, the first thing that we're going to see is a list of accounts that we have in the system. These could be accounts, in this case it looks like they're kind of all over the country. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up Salesforce Maps in a new tab here. And when we do this, this is going to show us a geographical representation of all the different accounts that I'm responsible for visiting. So I'm in Denver right now, so we're going to zoom in on Denver. And I actually have a map layer here that called Stores to Visit. And so these could be account locations that have a certain set of criteria that have been met. Maybe I haven't been to these places in a number of days. Maybe there's a new promotion that's out, and these are the stores that have been identified by our sales operations team that we need to be going to visit. There's a number of different criteria that we could be using to identify these locations, but the point is that these are the places I need to go. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to zoom into just a subset of these locations here. And as you can see, we can see here when we click on these different icons, it'll show us the name of the retail location, the name of the grocery store, maybe who the store manager is, the point of contact. So we know everything we need to know about this specific location. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually just going to take one of my favorite Salesforce Maps features and draw a polygon here on the map. And then here we can actually engage in some of these mass actions that allow us to add these locations to a route. So we'll take these four for the day, and we'll just say that this is Pat's route for today. And when we click save, this route, we're going to be able to put this onto the calendar and just say that this is the date that we're actually going to go out and do these visits. We can optimize the route if we want to, but in this case it's kind of given us an example route from 1 through 4 based on the most logical and efficient way of navigating between these 4 geographical locations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to, this route has been saved on my device, and so I'm actually going to move over into my mobile application where I can just give it a quick sync. And now I'm going to see the route that I have planned for the day. Again, there's many different ways that we could use Salesforce Maps for this purpose, but this is just an example flow that we're going to go through here. So here we have those 4 different locations that I need to go visit, and I'm just going to pick the very first one here. So now as you can see, as I click on that, there's the exact same route that I had on the desktop experience. This is the name of the store that I need to go to, Car Foods, and this is the name of the person that's there, the phone number if I need to contact them. But then as soon as I navigate there, assuming that I click on the Take Me There button right there in the middle, I navigate to this location. Now I'm getting out of my car, I'm walking up to the store, and this is the moment when we've seen a lot of customers will use paper surveys or very, very old systems to collect information about the store that they're entering. And what we can do here is just click a simple button. This is going to take us over into the Youreka mobile app immediately, and it's going to open up a brand new survey that we are responsible as an account manager for filling out. Now, what we'll notice is that all these fields that we already know about the account and the contact associated, they're pre-populated for us. So if we need to change any of this information, we can certainly do that. So in this case, we'll review some of the account information here. We can review the store manager's name here. John is this person. And then we can just indicate some very basic information right up front, like what's the preferred contact method for John. If we indicate that it's the phone number or the email address, you can kind of see here some of the benefits of using an application like Youreka. This is the first one that I draw your attention to, is that we have this ability to show and hide different questions based on answers to previous questions. So here you can see that when we select phone number, the manager's phone number pops up. If we need to edit that phone number, that's perfectly fine. We'll say that it's 7777 instead. Or the same would be true if we needed to update the email address. That would work as well. So now it's part of the store visit where maybe we need to go to the aisle, and again, we have a bunch of coffee products that we are responsible for assessing here. So let's just go ahead and open up and check out some inventory that we might have on the shelf here. So we're walking down the hallway, or walking down the aisle, and what we see here is we can open up the very first product that we're observing here. Now, we have all these products in our Salesforce environment, so I could easily type them in here if I wanted to, and it would pre-populate with some of my options. But we can also use a barcode scanner. Now, I just have a barcode up here on my screen, but what we'll notice is when we scan these barcodes of these items on the shelf, it'll pull in the actual product SKU that we're looking at right here. And now what we can do is simply say, this is in stock. This is how many I see right now. There's 20 on the shelf, and they're selling it at this location for $7.99 a bag. And it's also on the lower shelf. Now, if we observe that it's on the lower shelf, what you'll notice here is that we can actually present information that says, maybe our contract with this retailer says that we shouldn't be having our products on the lower shelf. We agreed that they were either going to be on the middle shelf or the upper shelf. So maybe we need to go speak with the manager about that. So this is a way for us to kind of guide all of our different account managers through the same process and help them with their day. But in this case, let's actually just say that it was a part of the middle shelf. We'll make that red box go away there. And there we go. So that was our first product there. We can click add one more time, and we'll have the opportunity to add another product here as a kind of an infinite list here. So we'll select the second product here. It's the Arabica Breakfast Blend. We'll say that it's also in stock, and then we'll say it's 25 of those that we see. So we'll call that $8.99, and it's on the top shelf. Great, so we could keep on going and we could keep collecting information about all the different types of coffee, but let's move on and we'll just start to collect some more information on this form. So maybe the next component of this visit is that I need to take a look at the different marketing assets that our organization has planted in this particular store. So I also have those serialized in this case. So we'll also use the barcode scanner to scan the asset. And what this ends up doing is it's going to pull up what we have as a cafe product display. And so maybe this is some sort of display that looks that has a unique way of demonstrating what our coffee products might look like. And so we'll scan that asset right here. We'll say that it is in fact installed. Maybe we can indicate the date that it was actually installed, or maybe we're installing it today and we're scanning that barcode as soon as we finish installing it. But in any case, now we've indicated that that asset is now a part of this store, and we've verified that it's present. Let's do a couple other things here that will show you. The next component is we're going to be talking about, a lot of times our customers want to understand what their shelf share is. So compared to all the other coffee products that are on the shelf, where do we sit as a percentage of that shelf space? So this is a very simplified way of showing that. But let's just say that the first question here is how many shelves are our coffee products occupying? We'll say that we're on one shelf. And the shelves on this aisle are 4 feet wide, and there are 4 shelves on each gondola. So now we're able to see, generally speaking, like this is how many in square feet we have in terms of shelf space. Now, if we kind of take the next step and say how many shelves are in this aisle, we'll say that there are 5 shelves in the aisle. So now we can calculate on a rough order of magnitude, we've got a 20% shelf space that we occupy. And that kind of information is so critical for a lot of our customers to be able to go out into the field and understand at scale what does the shelf space look like for their various products at each location. So let's close this thing out. We'll say, are there any competitive brands on the shelf? Yes, there are. There's some more conditional display logic for you. Compared to their prices, how do our coffee prices compare? So we'll say that ours are average compared to theirs. And then also, because we have these competitors on the shelf, I want to see who they are. So here we'll open up the ability for Youreka's photos to be able to be collected. Now again, this is just an image I've got on my screen, so bear with me here. But this is what you might be able to see inside of a coffee aisle is all the different products that might be on the shelf. We can mark up those photos if we want to. We can add text if we want to. We'll just say that this is coffee. Drag that text around. We've got a lot of flexibility in terms of the ways that we can mark up these photos so that we have really great notes about what we're seeing. And then these photos, by the way, along with all the other data that we're collecting right here, is going to be passed back to Salesforce here momentarily. The final component that I'll show you is maybe we're asking whether or not there's an additional display real estate opportunity available. So here we'll say, yes, there is, and what type of real estate is it? We'll call it an Endcap display, and there is another opportunity for us to present maybe a sales or promotional discussion for our account managers to be able to have with those store managers right there on site. We give them everything they need about what this new Endcap might look like in case the store manager is interested in putting it in place. And we can demonstrate to them exactly what's to be expected in terms of an increase in sales. This is what we've been seeing at our other locations. If you're interested, let us know. And so here we'll just collect the manager's feedback and we'll say, looks great, let's get it next week. Sounds awesome. And then we'll indicate the date and the time that we're exiting the store. We'll quickly get the store manager's signature to say that he's okay with the display that we just asked for, and we're good to go. And the last thing I'm going to do as an account manager is I actually want to create a task in the system to follow up with John about this store display. So we'll say follow up with John, and we'll set it for tomorrow because tomorrow I'm actually going to be back in the office, and we'll say that it's for me. So we'll type in my name here, and there we are. And so now that Salesforce task is actually going to be ready for me in the system too when we save this back. So the final component here that I'll show you is if we want to generate a PDF of this visit and send it to our store manager for one reason or another, or if we want to send it to our supervisor, just depends on the type of information that we're collecting, the business process that we're supporting. But we can certainly generate a PDF from this form if we want to. The second thing would be that we can click on this button called View Insights. And what View Insights does is it's actually going to send all this data back up to Salesforce. It's going to analyze the information that we've collected here. It's going to power up all that Salesforce automation. You can see there's one example right there. We're sending a notification to either myself or the store manager, or excuse me, my supervisor, if my supervisor is interested in receiving notifications about different store visits. And there we go. So what you can see here is we've actually developed a couple of different insights that might be important for our field team. So the first one is that there is in fact a display real estate opportunity available for us. We already knew that, but basically what we're taking here is the combinations of answers in the form, and the form is actually kicking out a discovery or an insight as a result of those responses. And so here, this could be helpful for me on site, but more importantly, this discovery could then be analyzed back in Salesforce by a different team that's responsible for following up and executing on that real estate display being delivered on. The next thing that we're doing here is we're actually putting in a little bit of artificial intelligence. So we're using Salesforce's Einstein AI, both analyzing the text of that manager's feedback in terms of what that sentiment looked like, as well as Einstein Vision is another feature that's offered here that allows us to really have Einstein analyze our photos and come up with certain conclusions that we might not be able to do on an individual one-off basis. Einstein can look at these photos and tag them with the various insights that we want it to look for based on the model that we have trained for Einstein in our system. So these are just some examples of how Youreka can produce insights to our account managers while we're in the field before we even leave the store. So I'm officially left the store now, and what I can do is I can actually go back into Salesforce and quickly look at what we've done here. So the first thing I'll do is let's go back to the store that we just visited, which is called Car Foods. So we'll find that account in the system. And what we can see here is that just now that I've refreshed my page, what we'll notice is that I can actually go in and see the different pieces of inventory that we just picked up on. So if you remember at the very beginning of the store visit, we indicated that there was these 2 coffee products, and these are the prices, and these were how many we saw on the shelf. Now this is really cool on a one-off basis, but it gets extremely powerful the second that we start doing this at scale with all of our accounts, all of our products. We can start to analyze trends around what the price points are looking like by retailer or by geographic location or otherwise. We can also see the marketing assets that have been put in here. So there's our cafe product display that's been inserted into the system as a result of us submitting our form back to Salesforce. And if we want to see the form itself, the entire form is available to us by simply clicking in here. This is where you can find those Youreka forms inside of the system, and then every single response that we had, just like it looked like on the iPad, is now available for us here inside of Salesforce for anybody that needs to see it, including the photos that were captured of the different aisles that we went down and visited. So there's a lot of power in being able to collect that stuff out in the field and pass it back to Salesforce. Now, the other thing that we'll talk about is the ability to show dashboards and reports of this different information. So here I'm going to open up the different dashboards that we have. I've got one here called the Store Visit Dashboard that's reporting on these pieces of information that were collected from that form. So as you can see here, we're able to see maybe we have a goal that we need to get to in terms of store visits. Maybe we want to see how many we're doing every single day. Maybe we want to see the individual price points on average by product type, or maybe we again want to see what the shelf share is by retailer. Where are we definitely most present, and where are we lacking in terms of shelf share? And then we can make really important decisions based on these insights. And it's all because these forms are pushing data right back into Salesforce seamlessly. The final thing that we'll talk about here is the ability to actually edit these form templates. So let me show you what it looks like to actually make the form that we generated, that we were just using in the field. What I can do is actually come into Salesforce, open up the form template that we were just working with, and make a new version here. And maybe I want to do this. There's a number of different reasons why this would be important. But if we find out that there's a set of questions that we want to start asking in the store that weren't on that previous template, we can do that right here inside of Salesforce, and then deploy it out to all of our users. So maybe, and you can see right here, before we add any questions, these are the questions that we were asking of our account managers out in the field. That's what was being shown on the mobile application. So maybe I'm going to ask another question here. We'll drag this to the bottom, and we'll just say, were there customers present at the store at the time that we were there? Here we can select a different type of question. You can see there's a lot of different kinds of questions that we have in here. But here we'll say it's just a yes/no question, which gives us the ability to kind of customize the different radio buttons that we might have here. But I just need it to be a yes/no question. So were there customers present at the store? The next one would be, how many customers approximately did you see? This could be really important information to collect too. So how many customers were present? And this is actually going to be a number field. So we'll select number there. You can see we have some options in terms of data validation. But the feature I want to show you here is we only want to show this question when somebody says that there are customers present. So I'm going to go to this section that says display logic. And when we click on this, right now this question is set to always be visible. I don't want that. I want it to be only conditionally visible. And I only want to show this question when somebody answers yes to the fact that there were customers present at the store. If they answer no, I want this question to actually be hidden, because it doesn't make any sense to ask somebody how many were there if they said no in the first place. So here we'll click Save on this form template, and then we'll click Preview just to kind of check our work. So this is what the template actually looks like. We can set it up to look at what it might look like on web, or on the phone, or on a tablet. But here's what it'll look like, and this actually looks most similar to what we were observing earlier. There's our new question there with all the other account information that was previously present. And so here we can say, were there customers present at the store? If the answer is yes, then we can say how many were there, and that's where our team can indicate exactly how many there was. So we feel good about the template. We'll click Save once more, and we'll close it out, and we'll publish the template. And so now, after publishing the template, what we're able to do is we can quickly deploy this out to the other people that are doing store visits. And it's very easy to do. And there's a bunch of different ways that we can do this depending on how we choose to deploy our surveys. But in this case, we'll just reset the template that everybody's going to be using from Salesforce Maps. And so let's back out of our form here, and we'll head back over into Maps. So we'll refresh our routes, and when we click in to the same route that we had before, we already finished our route with car foods. So we'll go to this next one here, and then we'll click to launch a store visit. And what we'll see here, hopefully, let's see if it'll do it for me, we're actually going to sync and open up the next type of form template that we have going on here. And as you can see, that store visit 1.7 is that new version of questions that we had set out. The whole thing's pre-populated for that next location, but there's our next question right there. And in this case, actually what I'm going to do, the final kind of feature that we'll show is that we can actually do this without internet connectivity as well. So if we didn't have any internet with our iPad or our Android device, maybe because we don't have access to Wi-Fi or we don't have a data plan on this device, we can do this whole process without internet connectivity, and it still works just the same. So here we'll just say, are there customers present in the store? How many were there? We'll call it 65 this time. Okay, great. And I could fill all this stuff out, you guys, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to refrain. And we'll click Submit right here. And what we'll notice about this one is that when we went to McPherson Foods, this is the form that we had offline, which is why you see that little orange border on the outside of that form right there. It's just going to sit locally on our device and just store all the information that we collected right here locally until we find internet connectivity. And when we find internet connectivity, it's just going to push it back to Salesforce automatically for us. And there goes our automation. All the data is now back in Salesforce. You can see the notification just got set there. But the second that we go back into Salesforce and we go find McPherson Foods, we'll open this up and we can go see our form that we just filled out. There it is. It's just been added to the system. And so when we click in here, you can see there's those answers to the questions that we just had. Had we filled out the rest of the form, that would be made available for us too. But the important thing is that what you've just seen right now is a very quick way to be able to make edits to those surveys, deploy them out to our users as they're doing their routes, and map all that data back to Salesforce with or without internet connectivity. So that's all for today. You guys, thanks for watching the whole video. Again, this has been kind of the retail execution and merchandising use case on Salesforce using Youreka and Salesforce Maps. If you have any questions about the use case, feel free to reach out to us at Youreka.io to learn more.